Madam Secretary, please read Senate Bill 43.
Senate Bill 43 by Senator Stubblefield et al. To classify a drag performance as an adult-oriented business and to add additional location restrictions to an adult-oriented business.
Senator Stubblefield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I've been here 12 years. And every day, every Thursday when we leave, usually on Thursdays, I get home and the first thing I do is go in, help my wife unload everything because my wife comes with me every trip. And I hit my voicemail, which is always full. Well, this last week, when I hit my voicemail, I heard some of the most vulgar, obscene language that I didn't even know exist. I really didn't. I've never heard these words put together before by a group of people that want other people to bring their children and put them in front of them so they can read a book. And I thought, you know, I can't think of any redeeming quality, anything good that can come from taking children and putting them in front of a bunch of grown men who are dressed like women. I thought and I thought and I thought. I couldn't come up with anything. This bill is really very simple. It reclassifies what a drag performance is. And let me just go through it real briefly with you. And by the way, I have also the testimony of a Miss Kitty Demure, who is a drag queen. Let me read to you what she says. I have absolutely no idea why you would want to influence your child. Would you want a stripper or porn star to influence your child? It makes no sense at all. I have no idea why you would want drag queens to read books to your children. I have no idea. What in the heck has a drag queen ever done to have you have so much respect for them and admire them so much that putting on makeup, jumping up on the floor, writhing around on stage is going to help your child? And I understand that you want to look like you are with it, that you're cool, that you're woke, that you're not a Nazi, that you're not a homophobe, whatever it may be. But you can raise your child to be a normal, regular, everyday child without including them in gay, sexual things. That wasn't written by me. That was written by a drag queen. We live in a world today that is so unlike the world that I grew up in that it's hard for me to even take it in. We're seeing things today that no one could have predicted 40, 50 years ago. Morally, we're going down a funnel. It's like Thomas Jefferson said. He said, America will never be taken over from the outside. We'll be taken over from the inside, like what happened to Rome and many other countries, from moral decay from the inside. California currently has 67 different, you can identify in California, if you're a child, 67 different genders. Now, when you take one of these little kids and put them in front of drag queens that are men dressed up like women, do you think that helps them or confuses them in regard to their own gender? We have a lot of kids today that are so confused about their own gender that some of them are having to go to psychologists and get help. And yet that's exactly what's taking place all over this country. So if you keep your kids at home, drag queen again, take them to Disneyland, take them to Chuck E. Cheese. But if you need your child to be entertained by a big human in a costume, then take them to a circus or something. To me, this is putting our children in situations that really is a violation of their personal boundaries. It confuses the child about their own identity, their own body. And on top of this, we have these individuals that tell us, that trivialize this whole thing and say this is a family-oriented entertainment, wholesome entertainment. Our youth of today have seen more, they've experienced more of the ugliness of society and of sex, that it has become a secret burden to many of them. Go around little kids and talk to them today. It has stripped away the joy of their innocence and their childhood. This world's never been a safe place for kids in the first place, and it's becoming less all the time. And I also believe that those of us that are parents and grandparents have been so desensitized by what we've seen, sometimes we've lowered our standards when it comes to standing up and calling these things out. I had one email me and said that I hated drag queens. That's a lie. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate anybody. I do hate sin because that's the way I was raised. I hate things that I know are wrong in God's eyes because that's the way I was raised, and I believe the Bible. But I don't hate any drag queens, nor do I hate anybody, period. Under Arkansas law, state law generally prohibits adult businesses near places where children commonly are present. Arkansas law does not clearly prohibit adult performances on public property. Arkansas law does not clearly prohibit adult performances from being conducted where children might see them. So you see the ambiguity in what this bill does? This takes away that ambiguity. It clarifies it. And current law defines what adult-oriented businesses do. This bill simply adds drag queen performances to that list of businesses. It defines an adult-oriented business to include a drag performance. This bill would prohibit adult-oriented businesses on public property. It also prohibits an adult-oriented business or activity from being conducted in view of minors. It clarifies that adult performances cannot take place where children can see them. Have you ever wondered why drag queen performers always got to have kids around? I don't think I've ever seen them want to go to a nursing home or assisted living facility, Senator Flippo. If you turn on page 2 of the bill, most of it is original language that's in the code. There's 3 things listed that have to be met before this bill would even affect anyone. The criteria and the 3 things. Line 1, line 5, line 8. Those have to be met before the bill affects anyone. So that's a lot of leeway. I got a text the other day that said, are you telling me we can't have our women dressed like men at the fair programs? There's a word in this bill called prurient. The last time I've seen a farmer at a fair who was in a womanless beauty pageant, I don't think I've ever seen one jump off the stage or on the stage and exhibited prurient activity. So no, this would not cause that from happening, nor would it stop a Shakespearean drama. There's a lot of things being made up that this will not affect. That's all scare tactics. So those things have to be met before this bill would even go into effect. I'm not going to spend any more time. I've had a bad sinus infection for the last 3 days. I had to go to the doctor yesterday. This bill is pretty self-explanatory. I know there's going to be some that come speak against it. And for the sakes of me, I don't know how. I hope that you will ask yourself one question before you vote. Would God approve of this? Just ask yourself that one question. I'd appreciate a good vote.
Those who wish to speak in opposition, Senator Leding, you are recognized, followed by Senator Tucker.
Thank you, Madam President. I feel the first measure of every piece of legislation should be how many people does this help and who does it hurt? And I don't think this bill is going to help anybody, but I do know it's going to hurt people. And I know that's not our colleague's intent. I believe he is sincere when he says he wants to protect kids. Everybody in this room wants to protect kids, but I don't believe this bill does that. Even if you do think drag performances are anything other than fun and entertaining, and I hope everybody in here has had the privilege of being at one, how many kids do we think in Arkansas are unintentionally witnessing drag performances? How often do we think this is happening? Where do we think Arkansas ranks in children who have seen a drag show? I know we're number 2 in child food insecurity, we're 5th in child mortality, we're 7th in child death by firearm, and we're 16th in teen suicide. Where do we think we rank in the number of children who have seen a drag show? Our daughter has seen one. My wife and I, both Christians, took our daughter to one at the Momentary in Bentonville. She had a great time. The room was full of families. All anybody saw were people who had clearly put a lot of work and time and expense into performing for people. There was loud music, it was dancing. All anybody experienced was the joy of watching people do what they love in a room full of people who support them. And maybe loud music and dancing is not your thing. I'm an introvert who likes a quiet room all to myself. But I really can't say that this bill is going to do anything to protect kids. It will hurt kids, particularly kids who struggle to feel welcome and safe and accepted and as though they belong in Arkansas. And they do belong in Arkansas, regardless of who they love, how they identify, or what they wear. They have every much right to feel welcome and safe and accepted and loved as the rest of us. And I can't imagine how they feel when they see their legislature demonize their community and make them feel as though they are somehow a threat to their peers just by being who they are. So who does this help? Who does it hurt? It's going to hurt a lot of people, including kids. And any one of us who wants to improve kids' lives in Arkansas in a meaningful way, there is a long list of real issues. I will sit down with any of you today to see what we can do about them, but I would ask you to vote against this bill. Thank you.
I am in favor of this bill. I'm in favor of this bill for a few reasons, many of which we've kind of already talked about today, but I'm going to bring another perspective as a father of young children with 3 kids of my own, and I am compelled to vote for this and to encourage others to support this as well, because we are in a battleground. Let me tell you about some of the emails I've gotten on this bill. Some things about some of the statistics that Senator Leding mentioned, that we have so many areas that we need to be focusing on. Why are we focusing on this area? You know, and to some point, that is correct. We are behind in our education goals and our prison reform goals. But my response is we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I would also say that we have an issue that is a cultural battleground right now. And our children are at the forefront of that. And so for myself, and I know for many of you others, that this is very important for us to take seriously. I believe when I see drag queen story hours, when I see drag queen performances nationally or in our area, I think about what do I want my children exposed to? What are the things that I want to be encouraging them to be a part of? And I think what is pure, what is holy, what is noble, what is aspiring. And I don't fall into, I don't push them into those areas. And so for me, I think this gives the correct categorization for these activities. It still gives the rights and privileges for people to be involved with whatever they'd like to be involved in. But I believe we are at a cultural standpoint of a line in the sand and a battleground for our families and our kids. And so that's why I'm urging you to vote for this. Thank you.
2 weeks ago today, as a matter of fact, we had a new governor sworn in. I'm sure you all remember. We went down to the House chamber for a joint address, and we happened to stand at least 2 or 3 times during the course of her address, right? Now, it was more like 25 or 30. I don't know. I lost count. Believe it or not, there were a number of things that Governor Sanders said that I was happy to stand for and that I applauded. There are a few things I wasn't as excited to stand for, and that's okay. You know, that's part of democracy. But one of the things she said, I'm paraphrasing, but one of the things she said that I jumped out of my seat to applaud was, if you send me a bill that grows government at the expense of freedom, I will veto it. Now, a few of my colleagues gave me a little bit of a sarcastic hard time about standing. I know you'll find this hard to believe, but I probably gave a sarcastic response. But the truth is, I was happy to stand and applaud because I'm not convinced that this legislature actually stands for limited government. And let me explain what I mean. When it comes to our lives and our people's lives, I believe wholeheartedly that this legislature stands for limited government. But when it comes to other people's lives, I believe this legislature is for big government to control those lives. And that's not unique to the 94th General Assembly. That happened in General Assemblies 1 through 93, as far as I can tell. I know for certain in the last few. And over the course of our history, we've had bills come through here that targeted black Arkansans or other racial minorities, or tried to control the lives of women. In recent years, we've had bills, and I'm sure we'll have them this session, already on file, that try to control the conduct of businesses that we disagree with. When I first came to the House, there were bills trying to control the lives of gay and lesbian Arkansans. But in recent years, that focus has been more directly on transgender Arkansans, the most vulnerable people in our state. Now, my question for this body is, when are we going to learn from our history? We've been trying to control other people's lives for almost 200 years now. And where has it gotten us? As Senator Letting mentioned, we rank near the bottom in a lot of categories, more than he mentioned. And it's not hard to figure out why. 25% of the kids in our state don't know how they're going to eat dinner tonight. And this is the first bill of consequence on the floor of the state Senate in this legislative session. The people of Arkansas sent us down here to get better laws than this to serve them. The truth is that this bill is not about governing. It's about bullying. And if you don't believe me or agree, all you have to do is look at the language in the bill. Now, if this bill was about protecting children from undue sexual influence, that is a conversation we could have. Absolutely, 100%. There's a lot of activity out in the state that I think could arguably be undue sexual influence on children. If you go out to West Little Rock and go to Twin Peaks, or you go to a Hooters, there's activity there that is 100% designed to appeal to the prurient interest. And there are kids running around everywhere. But that's not in this bill. This bill focuses exclusively on people who dress differently than the gender they were designed at birth. And that's how you know it targets them. And we talked, and Senator Flowers made reference to this. I pay attention to the entire Bible, the most attention to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And there Jesus says, the first and greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. The second, like it, is to love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and all the prophets. I'll transition from theology to a topic where I may have a little more credibility in here, and that is the law. Now, this bill is not only mean-spirited, it's also unconstitutional. And what makes it mean-spirited is the very thing that makes it unconstitutional. Because it targets transgender Arkansans in the bill, that on its face violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Because we're targeting people based specifically on their gender. Beyond the 14th Amendment, there are First Amendment concerns. There was another line of applause for the governor's address 2 weeks ago for the First Amendment, the freedom of expression, freedom of speech. The Supreme Court of the United States worked for 20 years to define obscenity and pornography. These are very smart people with a whole lot of help. The word prurient is one piece of one factor of many factors that the Supreme Court uses. Now, we could have borrowed their language totally, but that's not what's in this bill. It takes one piece of one factor of the word prurient, and that word is not defined in this bill. I know for certain that Senator Stubblefield and I have different definitions of the word prurient. Is a court going to use his definition, mine, or someone else's? We don't know because it's not in the bill, and because what's prohibited is not fleshed out. So will it apply to a drag queen show? Probably. I'm sure that it will. Will it apply to a gay pride parade? Probably so, because the law is too vague to know for sure. Will it apply to Tootsie, which is appearing right now at the Walton Arts Center in Fayetteville and will be in Little Rock soon? Maybe. If I were their lawyer, I would be very nervous about the advice I would be giving them if this becomes law. But beyond that, this law also explicitly controls people's conduct in their own private homes. There's no exception for that. It's included in the bill. So I'll finish where I started by saying this is a big government bill. It grows government at the expense of freedom. And we're going to see over the course of this session how many bills we pass like that. I hope the answer is 0, starting with this one, which is why I'll vote against it and ask you to do the same.
Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Boyd?
Yes.
Bryant? Bryant? Caldwell? Chesterfield? Clark? Crowell?
Yes.
Davis? Dees?
Yes.
Dismang? Dotson? English? Flippo? Flowers? Gilmore? Hammer? Hester? Hickey? Hill? Irvin? Blake Johnson? Mark Johnson? King? Letting?
No.
Love?
No.
McKee?
Yes.
Murdoch?
No.
Payton? Penzo?
Yes.
Petty?
Yes.
Rice? Stone? Stubblefield? Sullivan? Tucker? Wallace?
Thank you. Any senators? Thank you, Senator Bryant, voting yes. Any other senators who have not voted, wish to vote, or wish to change vote? Seeing none, cast up the ballot. By a vote of 29 yea, 6 nay, it passes. Transmit to the House.